Well, for more on that story, we're joined by Negar Mortazavi, an Iranian journalist based in New York. Negar, good to speak to you this evening. So Saudi Arabia has executed this cleric. What's your response to that?
Well, Sheikh Nimr was a prominent Shia cleric. He was a staunch government opposition. He was involved in protests against the government. So this is going to backfire, as we see. It has already started backfiring in the Shia world, in Iran, in Lebanon, among Shias in Iraq. And we'll just have to see if there's going to be some kind of retaliation or revenge, especially against Sunni minorities in the Shia majority countries.
And what form would that retaliation take?
We're still not sure. The activists, for example, like activists inside Iran are saying that some Sunni prisoners, Sunni political prisoners who are on death row have been separated. There's more pressure on them. We might see a series of executions in the Iranian prisons or the judicial system, which is controlled by the hardliners that have very strong opposition to Saudi Arabia, while the Iranian moderates who have control of the government are trying to take a more moderate approach. So we still have to see where this tension, even within the Iranian factions, the moderates and the hardliners, will go, and how this high price that Iran is warning Saudi of is going to play out.
Well, Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr was convicted by Saudi law and he was executed. Surely it's inflammatory for Iran and other states to say that there will be a high price that Saudi Arabia has to pay.
Correct. So the Iranian Foreign Ministry and Iranian political system has mentioned a high price. They haven't really elaborated how this high price is going to play out. Is it going to play out by popular protests? Is it going to play out by government and official retaliation? Saudi diplomats in some of the Shia countries have been called in by governments in Iran and Iraq, and there has been high-profile reactions from Shia figures and clerics in the Shia world. We just have to wait and see how serious this high price, or if there's a retaliation, is going to play out. There's some concern, like I said, about the more activist part of the Sunni minorities in these countries. But we'll just have to wait and see how this is going to play out in the near future.
Well, Negar, just give us some idea of how important Sheikh Nimr was to Shia Muslims.
He was a prominent Shia cleric in Saudi Arabia. He was considered a leader of the Shia minority who lives in some of the oil-rich areas of Saudi Arabia. They have been oppressed by the Sunni-led government or regime in Saudi Arabia, and there's been some back and forth sympathies with Iran, and it's just his prominence comes from him being a Shia cleric and also sort of a leader or government opposition within Saudi Arabia. So I think both of these, the religious faction of him being a Shia, and also his political opposition to Saudi, being one of Iran's important rivals in the region, both of these are going to play hand in hand and are going to play out in the reactions that are coming up in the region.
Well, Negar, we've heard obviously from the Iranian state, their response to this, but what do ordinary Iranians feel, and how have they responded to what's happened? Are they as angry as the state seems to be?
There have been some protests, some popular protests in Iran regarding this. It's still very new. The news is still very new. We have to wait and see. I've been talking to some Iranian activists inside the country, and something that I understand is angering a lot of people is also the reaction or the double standard, as they're saying, that's coming from the West, the support for the government in Saudi Arabia, and how these kind of reactions to their opposition is not really backfiring among the Western governments, as opposed to similar situations that would happen in Iran or some of other rivals of the West. So I've seen that kind of criticism coming, and also the political rivalry between Iran and Saudi, of course, always plays a role in these kinds of incidents.
Well, Negar Mortazavi, there for us in New York. Thank you very much for now.